Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Do You Want to Continue? This time around, I'm still going to be showing Alvaro a game. This one is called Creeper World 3 Arc Eternal. Basically, Creeper World is the important thing to remember. The first one actually came out in 2009. It was a Flash game that you could also download and pay for if you wanted by a small studio. I think it's probably just one or two guys, called Knucklecracker. It has a sequel already to this one, but it changes the core mechanics of the game. It's all of a sudden a 3D game, whereas there's depth you can see. It's illustrated, but for the most part, it's a 2D game. It's a little bit of like a kind of pseudo resource management, not really, but mostly like a tower defense sort of game and style. So this is the first mission. I think it throws you in nice and suitably, so we'll just get started right away. There's a creeper emitter here. So basically, the enemy this game, they don't like come in waves. These things, that little blue dot there, what it's going to do is it'll start spitting out blue water, right? And that blue water destroys everything it touches, right? So you can see it'll spit out 3 every 0.6 seconds, right? Okay. And we can get a little bit further here.
Change the wall sequence.
Yeah, so we're going to start to unlock technology, right? So you can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel, you can move WASD, or you can use the middle mouse to drag as well your camera. At least maybe it's not bounded, but you should be able to. So let's go ahead and throw down our first command center, right? Kind of like pseudo StarCraft. We can throw it really wherever you'd like. Perfect. Now we need to start building some collectors to get energy. So,
okay. So
yeah, exactly. And you can see, basically, this game works kind of like via packet management. So you only have a little bit amount of energy to start off with, but these things harvest energy in that AoE. So you want to try and maximize your AoE to collect the most energy while still not putting too much strain on your network, right? And then there's terrain as well. It's kind of apparent that you're on some high ground and this liquid is starting to channel through the low ground, right? But there's also a little bar on the bottom right here in the HUD that where you hover, it tells you where it is.
Okay, so these pulse cannons, right?
Yep, so a little bit of AoE. So the thing with cannons is that they can shoot, obviously, at their own terrain or lower. They can't shoot higher. So that's going to be crucial later on, and you can see here, it's like packet management, so all the packets are coming down. We can still build a couple more collectors or whatever, just to make sure we're maximizing our energy. Oh, impressive, dude.
I see.
And then eventually, so this one's very simple. You eventually need to build that little thing called a nullifier. It costs 50 resources, so it's pretty expensive to arm and build. But you need to build that within the radius of the evil blue dot.
Okay.
And then you need to defend it properly and all that stuff. Right. You can also move your cannons in this game, much like you can move like Terran in StarCraft. So if you like click on one of your cannons and you want to relocate it, you're free to do that. You need to hit escape or cancel to clear the tool. Yep.
And then
you can put it wherever as long as it's still supported in your network, right, to resupply it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's very practical, actually. That's a very nice feature.
So like that guy's not shooting anything, right? So we can go ahead and move him and actually get him active. And then the one thing that you really only have to be careful for, you can't place things, because they're going to explode instantly, right?
I see.
So you need to build a bit of a buffer space. And then one thing I would be careful for is that you can connect your network through cannons, but if you move that cannon, you're going to disconnect your network, right? So you should probably put another collector in between because you're going to want to move that cannon eventually.
I see.
Yeah. And then there's like hotkeys for this if you like actually get invested in the game, so you can fly through the tabs and start doing stuff. The nice thing about this game is that it's pausable as well. So even though like it can get a little bit intense at times, I'm pretty sure if you hit spacebar, you just pause the game or something like that, and that's always super chill.
How many cannons do I need to actually build a nullifier?
You can build as many as you want, as long as it's supported with your network or with your energy.
Is that enough, for example? Like, is that close enough? Or
it won't let you build a nullifier unless it's within range. Let me just make sure I started the timer. I did not, so we'll say you've been playing for 4 minutes.
If only we had the magic technology to figure
If only we had the magic technology to actually figure this one out.
I mean, it
so
looks
you can see your network's a little bit stressed now, right?
Is that what the red means?
That's what the red is. And then if you look at the top right there, it says you've got the green number plus 5.5 minus 4.0.
So if I build more collectors, that relieves stress on the network.
It'll relieve some stress.
So what's the difference between a collector being collected on one end or like 2 or 3?
What do you mean?
Well, see, for example, here it's connected on multiple.
Oh, it just means that there's redundant connections, right? So if Creeper end up destroying one of them, then you're not going to completely sever your network.
Ah, I thought that would be giving more resources. Okay.
Nope. The only thing with collectors is how much area you're going to be able to harvest from, right? You've done it.
Alright.
So this is the first mission, so it's rather simple. And then you can actually put cannons and stuff inside of that blue ring. So you can just move a cannon, or you can build another one, and you can see it's going to be super powerful compared to normal. And then to end the mission, all you have to do is build another collector next to that little green pod, and then we'll get off the planet.
Alright.
First mission's not very exciting. There's a lot of different kinds of weapons, technologies, and cannons that you can learn, or that you eventually learn, and they get a little bit more exciting. Easy. You can see it still has very much so a 2009 vibe.
Claim victory. Oh, okay.
Yeah, continue without
I
somebody.
see. I
Right?
see. I thought that claim victory was like. Okay. Okay. So
There it
we
is.
go to Corsair.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of story that I'm not too invested in, to be honest, because it's like it's like classic mass story. Okay, so we're gonna get set up here in the top left. This planet already has kind of some collectors to start off with.
But I see that we can also link more.
Yep.
Right? So presuming that if I link this and I link that, then it also all collects and it's all part of the same.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a little tech right next to you as well if you want to just build a collector there and make sure you connect it. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And then you can see you've got a lot of energy already stored up. So you've unlocked a relay, which you can tether longer distance, and they also double your packet speed. So it's really useful. Like, it's like a highway, right, for like priority packets.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yep, and then you just hit X to get the text out of there. Be careful, because you already have the blue liquid already starting to spawn a bunch of stuff there. And then this is going to be, you've got like areas of high ground as well that you can build on if you'd like. Like all those little islands are going to be high ground.
I see.
Yeah. Eventually you learn to recognize it, but again, you can always just hover over and then take a look at the terrain bar to see
Well,
how
I mean,
high.
like, I feel like within 50 minutes, these nuances to the game are
No,
not so
I
easy.
get it. I should have taught you a little bit better. So you can see like when they reach the relays, they start zooming along, right?
It's interesting as water. Well, it's a very fascinating design.
Mhm. It's got like fluid mechanics as well. Eventually, you're gonna unlock one pretty soon. Eventually, there's weapons that they do well versus deep pools of water, right? But they don't. But cannons are great at clearing out one wave at a time, for example. So there's a little bit of nuance there. So what you should do is, because you can see from your command center until it hits the first relay, it's really slow. So if you build a couple of relays to have just a big connection. You're losing. There it is. What I mean is like, the packet leaves your command center, right? And then it travels really slowly until it hits the relay, and then it speeds up.
Oh, right. So you can. I can
So
set
if
up
you
some
could-
relays beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they get priority.
There it
Ah,
is,
right, okay.
right? And then you'll get, be able to reload your cannon a little bit faster.
But the collectors will give me more energy.
Right. So the thing with relays is the drawback is they don't give you any energy, right?
Alright.
So you have to build collectors to still make your.
I see.
Yeah, nice. And then eventually we have to get the end goal, or how you end missions, is usually the same. It's eventually get a nullifier around the big blue, and then collect one thing, and then you leave, right? Eventually they get a little bit more difficult. There's a tool that allows you to do some terraforming, which is really fun, because you can see a lot of this terrain is not really ideal for building on. So that's going to be a pretty fun aspect. And of course, all this while, you can always pause the game in case it gets too intense. And you can, like, how I said earlier, you can move cannons. Sometimes when you're like doing an offensive, you need to move a bunch of stuff at once. So that's all really good. There's control groups and stuff like that. So
Alright, so it's probably set up as. I mean, it's a real game, I guess.
yeah, it's like it's a real-time strategy that's possible. That's also kind of pseudo tower defense-y, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it's a decent tower defense game.
Like I said, it does get more exciting once we unlock more of the weapons. There's like airstrike things. Eventually, like the blue water tries to like airstrike you with water. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but like it's fun.
Oh.
I've actually never listened to the music in this game either, but
It's not bad.
it's throwing me back to like very early Flash game 2000s.
Yeah, it has that vibe very much so.
Yeah, so you can, then now we're placing the relays a bit further away, because you were kind of just using them a little bit.
I'm understanding the difference between
Yeah,
relays
exactly.
and collectors.
And then what you can do for collectors and even relays, actually, is if you just click and hold and drag, you'll place collectors and relays at their max distance. So that's always really nice. So the thing is that if we hover here, you can see when you hover over this kind of super white area, it's 10.
Yeah.
So these cannons are not going to be able to shoot into that because they're looking right at a wall, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it's a little bit harder to see, but eventually when you kind of learn to recognize the shading, it'll make more sense. Yeah, so if you just click and drag, like if you place one and then click and drag, yeah, see like that. So that makes it a little bit easier, right?
I see what you mean with the click and drag.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes when the terrain's not amazing, it's a little bit obnoxious. Yeah, stuff like that.
That's okay. I could make do with that.
Yeah, this game's got like a whole bunch of lore, but
Yeah, honestly, the lore in these games usually is very weak.
yeah, exactly.
Like usually they try their best at doing like some decent lore and it's fine, but I feel like
It's usually like, oh, the Earth is exploding and dying, and we
aliens
need
are
you.
coming in, and
Yeah.
like you're a commander, and commanders kill aliens.
Yeah, except this time you're not killing anyone because it's just water. The
I
enemy
guess
is
so.
water.
I gotta say that the enemy is not very exciting for this one. Like I can see why it's interesting. It's like innovative, so I give it a pass in that sense. But it's not very exciting.
No, it's not very exciting. Eventually, though, the levels actually get proper difficult, and there's like some interesting mechanics they throw your way that do spice it up a little bit. And a lot of the nuance of this game comes from the map design. Once you realize that it's like a fluid game, like you can see, like you're holding this thing down, right? But through the spillways, there's still a bunch of fluid that's pooled over there, right?
Why is that not doing it? Oh, okay, not good.
Yeah, it's got to like start charging up. We also need to clear this thing in the bottom right, the big red thing. So don't forget about that, because that's still producing liquid. That's about to overflow.
Oh right, because I have to go into the high ground like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, because I forgot. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can also move your command center if you want. So again, a lot like StarCraft in that regard.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Well, for Terran, anyway.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like, well, I guess.
Terran player, you know, no brain, no aim, just play Terran.
I mean, I don't think that, by the way. I'm not like one of those Terran haters.
F1,
Why are they
control
not showing
click.
the water, no?
use stim, you're good to
Oh,
go.
there we go.
Yeah, so it's a bit weird because you first have to build the thing and then you start resupplying it. So there's a little bit of that lag, if that makes sense. So like that cannon's finished, but it doesn't have any bullets. But now you're going to be sending bullets from your base.
Okay.
Yes, move the boys, and then we just need to get another nullifier in here to take care of it. These first levels are very, very tame. Eventually, you actually do have to start pausing just to actually plan out your stuff. And there's one level in this one that's like infamous for being like, holy moly. And then we gotta get a nullifier down.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful. And then if you want, we can speed it up as well. You can go from 1 to 4 times.
Zoom.
Yeah, right there. Beautiful.
Alright.
Game runs at a smooth 30 frames a second. It's not like, you know, you'd ever expect it to get too laggy. And even all the sound effects are sped up. Look at that. You're a great commander. No, you needed to
Oh,
hit menu.
where's the ask doesn't work.
Yep, and then leave world. You're good to go.
All right.
Nice. We're moving.
I think we can call it quits before the 15 minutes because if I do one more level, it's
Yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
take the whole minute.
Well, unfortunately, the early levels are very boring, but eventually they do get a little bit more, quote unquote, exciting. It's not like this game is ever like edge of your seat. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's a tower defense game. So,
Yeah, I know.
but question of the 14 minutes: do you want to continue?
Honestly, no, not really. I feel like as opposed to Titanfall, which is objectively an awful game, right? Of course. No, I think that these games, back in like 2008, 2010, I was more willing to give them my attention, right? But I feel like nowadays they're just too slow at starting. Like I've played a lot of these tower defense games. I kind of enjoy tower defense games in general, and I like the concept, right, of this. But something I've noticed is that nowadays, I mean, tower defense games just start so slow as if you've never played a game before in your life, and you go, all right, but I have.
Right.
Otherwise, like no new gamer is ever playing tower defense games, and I've noticed that. And so a lot of them I find very like particularly slow. And if their art style doesn't appeal to me, there's no need for me to pick them up. Like recently, I was playing Kingdom Rush, and I was like, okay, Kingdom Rush, the style is very cute, it's very adorable, so it like makes it exciting. But like this one reminds me of Titan Souls, and Titan Souls is also a very good tower defense game. It's very similar to this one in the aesthetic and what it's trying to do. Actually, might be inspired by this one now, thinking about it, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, 2009, I think there might have been an earlier
Titan Souls
version.
2008, so around that time, so, I mean, I don't know, maybe inspired by the Flash game. Like, this game, a younger me would have played it for longer. I think older me wouldn't want to spend the time learning this, to be honest.
No. It's a good game to have on the side for me. I just like watch Netflix or something, and I'll pay more attention to Netflix than to this.
Yeah, I can imagine that being that thing. I don't do that anymore. I used to do that much more often. I feel like that would be a good game for that. So yeah, I see the appeal. Like I don't think it's a bad game by any means, and I don't think like I would maybe continue playing it if we just got a bit faster. Because these early missions, I agree with you, they were just very boring.
Yeah, they're really slow and boring, but eventually the game gets proper difficult. And the nice thing about this game being on Steam is that there's a bunch of user-created missions that are properly, can kick your butt if you want them to. There's some that are just super easy. There's some that are meme levels. So it's got that appeal as well that I've just started really delving into. Some of them are really clever. Again, because the game, its fundamental mechanic is fluids, right? And the way that they interact with the different terrain. And because you can terraform, some of the levels are actually quite fun, and you can approach them in a lot of different ways, and they're highly replayable in terms of trying out different strategies once you unlock all the weapons. But I agree, it does start just brutally slow, doesn't it?
I can imagine that. Like, I can imagine this is a kind of game, like, if I managed to trudge through the basic tutorial level to teach me the mechanics, I would play it probably in the regular.
Oh, of course.
But I need to trudge through those.
No, my patience I totally get it. As soon as you said, I get it, balloons, I've popped a balloon or two before in my life. You don't need to pretend like I've never played this game before, but yeah, I think all the Steam reviews...
yeah, to be honest, that's a really good example of I feel like a tower defense game that is quick, easy, and to the point, which is Bloons Tower Defense.
Right.
I do find that tower defense game still keeps me hooked because you just get it. Like, it's immediately...
I agree.
You get into the difficult balloons.
And what's unfortunate about this game is that it takes you quite a while. I'd say it probably takes you like 8 missions to really get all the tech and start using it.
Oof, that's a lot of missions.
That's what I mean. I much rather would have preferred to see like a proper tutorial. Just, hey, this is what this does. Can you use it here in this time? Yes, okay, you've done it. Exactly. This is what this does.
I feel like these games are also very self-learning, right? Like
that's exactly the point, right? Especially when the point of it is, hey, here's this world that you can approach this many ways. I don't really like this approach either of a tutorial, because I get it. Like, if you know tower defense games, you're not necessarily going to be able to pick up this one immediately, because there's a little bit of a nuance. Oh, you have to connect your networks, and oh no, you've got too much energy going. Like, I get it, right? But at the same time, I do totally agree with you on that. It is brutally slow. But thankfully, it does have a 4x speed button, so that helps a little bit.
It's just old design. I don't think it's bad. I just think games used to be longer, so people used to have more time. And I think nowadays that doesn't fly as much.
Exactly. It's old game design. But we'll see. It was a bit of an old one that I've been playing a little bit, and I wanted to see what your thoughts were, and I think I should have chosen a different level to start on. But we'll see what we'll be having next week or within the next 2 weeks on the next episode. If you've liked this one, if you've liked the game, go ahead and throw a comment on. I remember when getting home from school and rushing on the computer to play this, and they'd have to load on like each website and all the Flash games. But yeah, we'll see what we have for you guys next time. If you like the episode, like, subscribe, smash the bell, all that good stuff. But that'll be it for this one.
All right. See you guys next time.